So here's the soil food web. This is a diagram from the USDA's Soil Biology Primer. I love it. If any of you have the original first edition of the Soil Biology Primer, when you open the primer, look on the inside of the front page, there was a letter from the head of the USDA at that time, Pearl Bailey, and said that this is the way we have to go. We absolutely have to understand soil biology. We can get away from the pesticides and the inorganic fertilizers so we can stop destroying water quality. This is what every farmer needs to know. And as soon as that book came out on the market, the chemical companies, the backlash, whoa, nasty. So when they republished the second edition of the Soil Biology Primer, the letter was gone. That's the kind of nastiness that's out there. So a lot of controversy. It's probably calmed down some because people are showing more and more and more that these relationships are important and that this is the direction that we need to go. So I want to go through all the critters in the soil food web and briefly outline their role and their function. But remember, this was from the work that we did back in 1985. In that particular publication, we did very reductionistic science. We had a whole bunch of soil that we put into little glass microcosms. And the first one got just water. Put a wheat seedling in there. How long does that wheat seedling survive in soil, well, in dirt that has absolutely no biology in it? Because we sterilized, autoclaved that soil. Well, what is soil exactly? Well, we're going to go there and answer that question, so just hold on a minute. So no life in that support matrix. Planted a little wheat seedling. How long did that wheat seedling stay alive? About 3 days. And it died. No life in the soil. Well, it's not soil. No life, you can't grow a plant in these kinds of conditions. So how about if you put bacteria into the next set of microcosms and you put a plant in there? What's going to happen to that plant? It's going to die. Bacteria alone, you can't keep a plant alive. Where's the nutrient cycling? How about if we put fungi in there? Plant's going to die. No nutrient cycling. How about if you put bacteria and fungi together? Sorry, your plant's going to die. Do you get kind of a trend here? You know, so when we're looking at just these organisms, if that's all you've got in your soil, or if this is all you've got in your soil, we have no way to get the nutrients out of the bacteria and fungi and into a plant available form. We have no way to get the nutrients out of your sands, your silts, your clays, your rocks, your pebbles, your parent material. There is no way to get those nutrients out and into a plant available form. I'll show you a table in just a little bit on nutrient concentrations in soils from all over the world. None of your soils lack the nutrients to grow plants. So why are you told that you don't have the nutrients? What's going on there? And you need to get this one clear in your mind so you stop having the wool pulled over your eyes. There's absolutely no reason to be putting fertilizer out as a source of nutrients. Your soil already contains all the nutrients your plants require. So bacteria and fungi, what do bacteria and fungi grow on? It's organic matter, but in most of your soils, what actually feeds your bacteria and fungi most are the exudates coming out of the root system. So as Patrick was saying, when we have photosynthesis going on above ground and we're making sugars, more than 50% of those sugars are going down into the root systems of any plant you and I want to grow. More than half of that photosynthate is going down into the root system. Of the photosynthate that goes into the root system, 50% of that is going to be released into the soil in the form of exudates. Ooh, isn't that a great scientific word? What's an exudate? It exudes from the plant. That's really helpful, isn't it? So what is an exudate? Exudates are mostly sugar, because guess what photosynthate is? Sugar, a little bit of protein, and a little bit of carbohydrate. So if I send you into your kitchen and I say, make me a recipe of mostly sugar, a little bit of protein, and a little bit of carbohydrate, what am I asking you to make? cakes and cookies. Isn't that fun? You got to interpret science. You know, you got to learn the language. And oh yeah, when they say exudates, they mean cakes and cookies. So your plant is putting out all kinds of different cakes and cookies into that soil in order to feed the bacteria and in order to feed the fungi. Now, what's your plant expecting in return? Your plant needs cobalt. So your plant is going to put out the exudate that grows those fungi that make the enzymes to pull cobalt out of the mineral, structural, crystalline form that's present in your rocks, your sands, your silts, your clays, your rocks, your pebbles. They make the enzymes. How about if your plant needs more nitrogen? Your plant puts out the exudates that says to this bacteria, feeds the right bacteria to make the enzymes to pull the nitrogen that's in your rocks out of your rocks. There is more than enough nitrogen in the crystalline structure of your rocks. As long as you have this food web present, there's absolutely no reason to worry about the nutrients present in your soil. So why are we doing that? Why are we putting out these amendments into our soil and we get all bent out of shape about, ooh, I don't have enough nitrogen, I'm going to have to go out and buy some compost that's really high in nitrogen. No, that's not what compost is for. Compost is to put these organisms back into your soil. If something's happened and you don't have the right set of critters, how do you get them back? That's what compost is for. Then if you can't put on a solid compost, then compost tea, a compost extract. Put out the liquid form of that compost with all the organisms in it. So see, the important thing in your compost is not to go out and measure nutrients, because you already got those nutrients in your soil. The important thing in your compost is to measure the life, because that's what might not be in tune. So the bacteria and fungi making the enzymes as directed by the plant. And so making the enzymes, pulling the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the sulfur, the magnesium, the calcium, the sodium, the potassium, all. How many nutrients do plants require? Where are we up to these days? How many essential nutrients? It depends on who you read, what papers you choose to go out and read, but 42 is kind of the current high point. And I enjoy the fact that that's the answer to the universe. Easy to remember. How many elements in the periodic table? You know, I think if we really got down to it and did the science, we would find that all of those elements are actually required by our plants. I enjoy the fact that in that 42 elements, arsenic is not included as an essential nutrient. If you have absolutely no arsenic in your plant, if there is none of that nutrient available for your plant to take up, your plant cannot form the physical structure to stay upright. It will fall over on the surface of the soil.
43.
So, yeah, 43. Okay, where's the data, Elaine? Where's the replicated scientific data? Well, simple observation can tell you a lot, right? So, how about you? Do you need arsenic? Absolutely. Yeah, your nervous system does not function. You cannot carry current from one nerve cell to the next nerve cell without adequate arsenic. Now, will too much arsenic kill you? Oh yeah. So it's balance. Everything must be in the proper balance. So how does Mother Nature make certain that it's a balance of all the nutrients that are being released? As your plant is feeding the bacteria and fungi and getting them to pull the nutrients your plant requires out of the rocks, the sands, the silts, the clays, the pebbles. These bacteria and fungi don't take up just that one nutrient. Their bodies have to be balanced, so they're taking up all of the nutrients. They're using some of those cakes and cookies coming from the plant to be taking up everything in the proper balances so their bodies can go through the process of reproducing. But all those nutrients are now tied up in the bacteria and fungi. If all you got are bacteria and fungi, you got dead plants. So what do we have to have? What takes the nutrients out of the bacteria and fungi and releases them in a plant available form right there at the root system? You got to have protozoa. that eat bacteria. We've got to have bacterial-feeding nematodes that eat bacteria. For fungi, we have to have the fungal-feeding nematodes. What do fungal-feeding nematodes eat? Fungi. You know, that's really a difficult concept, isn't it? So, yeah, the name tells you what they do. So, microarthropods that are fungal feeders. So all these little tiny guys are pretty much fungal-feeding organisms. Anytime one of these eats one of those, the concentration of nutrients are way too high in the bacteria and the fungi. Excessive concentrations of everything inside the bacteria and fungi. And so these guys have to poop out. So what's protozoa poop? Soluble, inorganic forms of every single nutrient that your plant requires. What's nematode poop? It's the soluble nutrients of everything your plant requires. Do we have to be fussing about whether we got nitrate or ammonium or phosphate or sulfate or any of the soluble plant available nutrients? Not if we got the biology in our soil. But please remember, it's got to be the whole food web. So if you want to stop doing that work, you want to stop applying those amendments out into your soil, and they are not cheap, are they? And they're a lot of work, and what's the cost of the tractor time and the breakdowns and the fuel and your time driving back and forth across your field? I don't know about you, but driving back and forth across the field is just really dull and boring. Although some people like it, so. We need to put this biology back into our soil. Now, where are most of the bacteria and fungi in soil? Think about who's feeding them. Right here in the plant. So we have a castle wall of bacteria and fungi are growing all over the surfaces of every bit of that root. Well, how about above ground? Oh yeah. We've got a castle wall of bacteria and fungi protecting the above ground part of our plant. There is no way a disease-causing organism can ever get to your plant if you have the castle wall protecting your plant. Who's feeding your castle wall? It's your plant. Isn't this clever how Mother Nature put this all together? Ooh, she's pretty smart. And then us as human beings came along at the end of World War I, World War II, and said, poor Mother Nature, she doesn't know what she's doing. We got to help her out. Oh, geez, how did that all come about? So getting these organisms back into our soils, so we're protecting all parts of the plant against diseases and insect pests, fungal diseases, bacterial diseases. So when you see mildew starting to happen, what's Mother Nature trying to tell you? There's something wrong with the biology around your plant. Fix that, then you can get rid of that mildew really rapidly, very fast. So what are those interactions? What do we have to get out there? Compost tea. Because we have to have the organisms from our compost stick into the surfaces of those leaves so they will inhibit, compete with, consume, and prevent that disease-causing organism from causing any more trouble. Get the life back out where it belongs. Why don't you have the life there? What happened that life was depleted? Oh, that's a detective story you're going to have to figure out, because you don't want to always have to be putting these organisms back. And I know it's a lot of work putting them out there, but once they're out there, they should be there forever. You should never have to fix them unless drift, unless you tilled, unless some disturbance has removed them. So here we go, we got our bacteria and our fungi being fed by our plants, protecting our plants, the protozoa, the good guy nematodes, the microarthropods. Do we need these higher level predators? Yeah? Because what if we get too many of these growing? You know, life's really good, lots of bacteria and lots of fungi being fed by your plant, and so these guys just chow down, chewing away, and we get too many of them. And they start overeating your bacteria and fungi. So now there's nobody to pull the nutrients out of your sandstils, clays, rocks, and pebbles. Your plant's going to be in trouble pretty fast. So how do we keep these guys at the right level so there's enough of them, but not too much? See, balance. So the Goldilocks principle. Enough, but not too much. Goldilocks walked into the three bears' house, sat down at the table, and the first bowl was too hot. Woo, too much temperature. The next bowl was too cold. Ugh, not enough. And the next bowl was just right, so she eats it all up. Goldilocks principle, everything in balance. So we got to have these guys to keep those guys in balance. Somebody has to eat the excess here so that we got just the right amount to keep these guys functioning and doing that nutrient cycling. Okay, what if you get too many of these? Okay, then they're going to overeat and there's no nutrient cycling, nothing being made available to your plant. So, oops, how do you keep them in control? Yeah, just go right on up the food web. Who's the top of the food web? We are. Our job is to be the gardeners of the planet. We're supposed to be checking and making sure that the life is present in our soil, so this is all functioning properly. All we really need to be able to do is look through a microscope every once in a while, and you can see all of these organisms. They're very distinct morphologies. They're very clear and easy to see. It takes you a whopping big 5 minutes to prepare the samples. You don't have to wait 2 weeks for the data to come back from the laboratory. So can somebody in your community, where's Jane? In the back, she can do this for you. So, you know, I'm sure there might be other people in the room, or someone would like to apprentice with Jane and learn how to do this kind of testing for you. Learn how to do it yourself. It's not that, it takes one day, and we can teach you how to use the microscope and identify the organisms. And then you need to practice. So you can do it yourself. Yes, it means I'm not going to be making a lot of money because I'm not going to be identifying your organisms for you. But you know what? I got better things to do. I work a lot identifying my own organisms and making sure the balances are out there.